Jasper was born. That's the only great
You know
part.
what? That is definitely a major silver lining for
Yeah, we
sure.
look at how sweet he is.
Oh, he's getting bigger too. Hi, look how
Yeah,
sweet you are.
the
I
good
ran
boy.
into my neighbors who also have a Basset Lab. It's the only other one that I've ever seen.
Yeah,
And
Oh,
I was just saying, I have a student with that just got that has a puppy, and I've always comment when I see them, it's the happiest dog I've ever seen in my life, and they just say, yes, she's like that all the time, and they are head over heels for her, and she looks like she's probably about 4, I'm guessing. So I think you got a good one there.
he just
He,
he dances in circles. I mean, just
oh,
I
that's
when
so
I got
cute.
his treats, he's just like, I am so delighted. Hey,
Oh,
I'm gonna want advice from you a little bit later on. Maybe I'll email you about this.
okay.
We for our Christmas present to each other, we rented a place at Seaside that accepts pets.
Oh,
But
wonderful.
I'm feeling very proactive and cautious about, you know, I might just want your advice of just how to set up carefully so that he succeeds and we don't, you know, lose all our money to
Oh
puppy.
yeah, yeah. Sure, sure. That definitely we can talk some more about that.
Okay, I'll email you. Yeah.
Okay. Um, thought we'd wait just maybe a minute or two more for Allison. I don't know if Carson's going to be joining us anymore since he hasn't been here for the last two. I
Yeah.
knew that they had been out of town, but then I just don't know what's going on with that. But it might just be you guys today, um, which is fine. We can, we'll just carry on as we would. Um, just again, like always, when we get started, I'd like to be able to see Jasper a little bit. If you guys can
Right.
put the
Right.
camera down so I can see my little buddy there. Aw, look at him.
Well,
Yay.
he's always better when you're in the room. It's just he hears
Aw.
your, he knows he's going to get a treat, so he's like, I'm okay.
Oh, that's great. That's great. He knows what's going on. He knows the score. Oh, look at that. That must be his favorite. He looks like he really loves that toy.
Mhm.
Oh, good boy.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
he
was
loves.
gonna check in with the mouthing. Have you guys still been doing timeouts?
Yeah,
Is that getting any better?
not really. It's kind of the same. He
Yeah.
one thing we learned is that if he gets really really hyper
Yeah.
and he's been up for a long time, that means
Yeah.
he's overtired.
Yeah, that
So
definitely, it's called, yeah, it's the witching hours when
yeah,
they're tired, you're going to see more mouthing, you're going to see more over arousal. It's just like a tired baby.
yeah.
Um, they just get
That's
frustrated faster.
we
Um,
lovingly in his crate, and then he's asleep in like 5 minutes.
oh, that's good. So
Snoring
yeah,
within.
I would make sure that you're not playing with them and riling them up anymore at those points. And I wouldn't work on the mouthing at that point in time because he's not going to be able to control his impulses
Right.
as
Yeah.
well. I try to work on the mouthing more when he's calmer, and
Yeah.
then get your hands down in there
Here, here,
and
sit.
uh, just go ahead and time out those bites. And
I, uh,
they do with the timeouts. You do have to be really consistent, or they don't really work. And you're still only doing it for 10 to 30 seconds, right? When you're doing it, just short ones,
Yeah, I mean,
because
honestly,
otherwise they lose the connection to what they're.
yeah. So
Okay.
we're still learning. We're still learning how to do the timeouts.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just really short. Just remove yourself from him. Because just try to think of it like this: the timeout is basically a removal of the good thing, and the good thing is you. So when he loses access to you, essentially it's a punishment, but it's a mild punishment. It's one of the only punishments that we'll use with positive reinforcement training. It's just a removal of reinforcement. So hopefully he'll go, oh, every time I bite them, nip them, or mouth them, suddenly they go away. So
yeah.
yeah, so I hate to hear that they're not working. Maybe just concentrate on being more consistent with it, and And if they're not working when you guys leave the room, try actually putting him in another space as opposed to you guys leaving the room. So in other words, in like a neutral area, like a puppy-proofed bathroom, just somewhere where you can actually shut the door for 10 to 30 seconds. And sometimes by removing him from you, it can be more effective than you removing yourself from him. So
Now,
that's just another thing to try.
Can you also say again, because you made a point that, like with games, I mean, obviously the world is a game to Jasper, but the fact that we start the game and we end the game, like that because I think that's part of the problem. He doesn't know there's an end. You know, he's like, well, I'm just gonna play with, especially Joe. He thinks of Joe as like his funnest person.
Constant toy. Yeah. Yeah, I would just, when you're ready for the play to end, I mean, there's ways to teaching them, to release the tug, game's over, but essentially just an easy way would be just that you guys just remove yourself from the game and the game's over for him. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm no longer playing. And now it's only a game when you guys are involved anyway. So yeah, for him. So some dogs will continue to play after, but I think I lost you. Let's see, where'd you go?
Oh, I'm sorry. We're trying to reach our phone. The battery was low, so we're just making sure it's got energy.
Oh,
it
yeah,
has
no worries.
No worries.
So yeah, just continue the time outs, but try to work on actually putting him in a neutral area, one that's been puppy proofed.
Yeah, we could do that. We have a
Yeah,
bathroom.
if the other ones aren't working where you remove yourself, you're going to have to take the next step, and that would be to actually put him in an area where there's no stimulation, he's getting no reinforcement, and again, only for 10 to 30 seconds. If you do it longer than that, you've lost the connection.
Okay.
It's one thing to give him just settle time. That's actually not a timeout, but that's great. You put him in his crate and let him chill out and rest, but a timeout is something different actually. And it needs to have a very succinct time period in order for it to function correctly. I just want to have you guys do a little more handling on Jasper. And just to remind you, as I was saying, they may tolerate the handling of their ears and their paws and things such as that right now, but they might down the line change their mind. And we really want to set them up for success with handling. For one thing, just even taking a visit to the vet, they're going to be touching their mouth, touching their ears, touching their paws. And if we can create really good feelings now, we can guard against when they do go through other fear periods of them changing their minds and not liking it anymore. So even though it seems sort of, I don't know, purposeless right now to handling him, if he seems comfortable with it, but you should keep practicing pairing the handling with food, because we want him to not just tolerate it, we want him to actually adore it. And then that will help him when strangers start to touch him in those places. And again, hot spots are paws, ears, tails, the mouth, like lifting up the lip. So I just have you right now, if you don't mind, if you just put the camera on him. And so how you do it is you touch the body part, then you feed immediately. Then you touch a body part and then feed.
And
he needs to know that
touching.
The touching predicts food. That's the reason that we do it in that order. So I'm noticing him pulling away a little bit. So I would, if you're noticing signs that he's uncomfortable, then I would lower the intensity of the touch.
I think he's really motivated right now, but I think he's about to get the food. I clean his ears probably 5 days a week.
That's great. That's great. And I would continue to pair that with food, Jan. Yeah, give him treats when you're cleaning his ears, so that, if someone else decides to clean his ears at the vet, say, you're building up tolerance for, not just tolerance, you're building up good feelings for other people touching him as well. So super, super duper good feelings, so that will help carry him over. There you go. So see how he is with touching his paws. Reach for his paws.
Oh, it's so cute. Is that your paw?
Pulled away a little bit, so it shows a tiny bit of discomfort.
I think he's really distracted by the food right now.
Oh
He's
yeah,
like,
definitely.
there's creme brulee.
That's good. There you go. Wonderful. So just again, just continue doing these little exercises, though it seems, like I said, a little not necessary because he does seem to be handling the touch pretty well. But we want to just keep building up those good feelings to help carry him through when and if he changes his mind along the way and starts to develop some discomfort.
All right.
Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, I want to let you know that when he is in between sleepy time and wake up time,
Yeah.
he's very, very approachable, obviously.
Yeah.
So I give him a lot of grooming and touches and loveys and belly scratches and
Good.
and touch his teeth and touch his paws and touch his tail.
That's great. And throw some,
So,
throw some treats in there. And, just toss some treats in there along the way, just to help build it up even more. But that's great. I'm glad to hear that you're doing all that handling. That will definitely help you in the long run.
He's been to the vet a lot because of his, the shot series for the puppies, and he's quite popular.
Oh, I bet he is.
It's really weird for them that they have to be isolated, from their owners to go into the vets. But
it is. I'm having a hard time with this little girl here laying on the floor. She does okay at the vet when I'm there. She doesn't, she's still got some issues, but she's terrified when they come out and just take her away like that. They were like, where are they going? Where are they taking me? And she's done it like 2 or 3 times now. And it was a little better the last time, but it is terrifying. Like, why are they, they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit, something we haven't worked on at all yet, and that's leash walking skills. We don't get into that a lot in the Kinderpuppy 1 because it's a bit more involved and we don't want to overwhelm. We get into it much more in Kinderpuppy 2 and also in basic manners. But we do like to sort of get you started on it and get you thinking about how to build good leash walking skills, how to work towards having slack in the leash, work on addressing the pulling. The secret to good leash walking skills is building value in check-ins of them paying attention to you and building value in being close to you. And a good way to get started on that is something we call off-leash following, and it's just a little exercise that we have you do off-leash in the house or in your backyard. And basically, oh my gosh, he's cute. Basically, a good way to get.
Oh, Daddy.
That's okay. Go ahead.
He's one of those kids in Willy Wonka. He's going to follow anybody who's got the candy.
Yeah, and that's wonderful. Right now, they're paying a lot more attention to us. Partly the food, but partly as puppies, they want and desire proximity to us more. As he starts heading into adolescence, that's going to change some. And the environment's going to become a lot more attractive to him as the hormones start kicking in. So,
because of the Basset.
What's that?
I'm concerned because he's got Basset in him. So I have a fear that he follows us a lot right now, but I fear that he's going to have a nose that says, hey, let's just follow.
You're going to be dealing with definitely a nose. And that's why we're going to, on leash walking skills, he'll start pulling to like go smell something. And we like to work on something we call red light, green light, but I'm jumping ahead of the game right now. But first of all, just a little exercise you can do when he's just hanging out in the house, and you wait till he gives you some attention and then start backing up and being very excited And basically, and then you're going to reward him as he's starting to follow you. So basically, it sounds like he's following you already, and I would be rewarding that, and I would just do that little exercise in the house where he's off leash. And I'm actually going to show you guys, I'm going to try sharing the screen and showing you guys a little video to just kind of give you an overview of what we're shooting for with leash walking skills. This video mostly follows the protocol of how we teach it in Plucky Puppy. The problem with leash walking, working on it in the Zoom format is a little more difficult. So we've been like showing some videos and talking about it. Everything else that we work on seems to be transferring pretty well to Zoom, but this is one of them that's been a little more difficult because you kind of need space to move around and to teach some of these skills. So what we've been doing is we're showing a little video and we talk about it just to try to get you on the right track of starting to work on it. Like I said, we don't like to overwhelm too much in Kinderpuppy 1 with this. We like them to be, you know, a little further along with some of their other skills. Because basically, when you start working on leash walking skills, you've really got to buy in all the way. And basically, if you let them pull at any point, it works against you because dogs don't understand that you're quote unquote training right now, and I'm not going to let you pull, but now you can pull because we're doing, in other words, to them it's all the same. So I'm going to show you this little video and it's going to talk about that a little bit, what I was just mentioning, and hopefully I can do this. I've only shared the screen once, so we'll see what happens here. So again, she pretty much follows our protocol in this video. She's a great trainer. So let's see if I can get this to work. We're going to give it a whirl.
You talked last week about rewarding them with something other than food.
Yes.
And he just, so we use, hey, I'm going to go to the front door. I'm going to go to the back door. And he runs to follow us. So he thinks of that as a big reward, you know?
Oh, that's great. Fantastic. Okay, so I've got the video up here. So let me know if you can see it. Do you see a YouTube screen here?
No, I see a black.
Okay, when I push play, tell me if you hear something.
Loose leash walking.
Okay.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I can
you
hear
see the
voice.
screen now?
That,
Can you see the screen and it says loose leash walking?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe if Joe wants to join you and we'll just watch this. It's only 3 so minutes. And she gives a really good overview of how to go about walking, working on leash walking skills. And I'll also send you this video after class sometime today or tomorrow. So just let me know when you're ready, and I'm just going to go ahead and let this video play out. You guys ready?
We're ready.
Okay, here we go.
Or in other words, no pulling on leash. Here you can see I am walking down the street with my 2 dogs, and both of the leashes are slack. There is no tension in the leash, and both dogs are calm and relaxed and doing what they like to do. Look around and sniff. When you follow a dog on a tight leash, you are actually training the dog to pull. This is because they are getting a big reward for tugging you along behind. They get to move forwards. Not only is pulling uncomfortable for the owner, but is uncomfortable for the dog as well. A dog that pulls on leash is more likely to become over-aroused on walks because of the tension on their neck or chest, causing them to bark and lunge at other dogs and people. By walking on a loose leash, a dog learns to control their impulses and behave in a relaxed and calm manner. This is Max, a Chihuahua. He's giving a demo on what pulling on leash looks like. He's not looking back once and pulling ahead, getting to where he wants to go without a care in the world what I'm doing behind him. I mean nothing to him. Here's one game you can play. Drop a treat and walk ahead. As the dog catches up, click them before they get to you and reinforce them in the position you'd like them to be. So drop the treat at the back of your heel or feed them back behind your leg.
So she's building value in
What to
proximity.
do if the dog pulls. If the dog pulls ahead and the leash becomes tense, simply stop, encourage the dog back by patting your leg or making a kissy noise, take a couple steps back, And when they're in a nice loose leash, continue walking forwards. If the leash becomes tense again, just simply continue doing the backing up. Another technique is, as the leash becomes tense, you simply turn around and go the other way.
I'm going to pause it a minute. Something that we do, which is similar to what she's suggesting, which is a great technique, is we do something called red light, green light. And when the dog starts to pull, we stop and we wait. And when the dog either turns towards us and gives us some eye, some orientation towards us, then we mark, reward, and continue on. Or if they give some slack in the leash. So if they've got a tight leash and they move in such a manner to make this leash go slack, we'll mark and reward that and then continue forward. So they're being punished by not getting to go forward, but then they're getting reward for making a slack leash or giving you attention. So that's just another technique that we use.
We have an older dog who we haven't trained right. So she's the calmest dog in the world, but she pulls on the leash.
Okay. And you can train that leash walking skills at any age. So you can work on that with her. What you can do is when she starts to pull, just stop, wait her out, Eventually, most likely what's going to happen is she's going to turn around to look at you, thereby giving a little slack in the leash. Mark and treat her, and then let her continue on. We call that red light, green light. So basically we're waiting them out. And the technique that she was using there is just to prompt them back, helping them out a little to give a little slack in the leash, and then continuing on. So either technique works. We just tend to use red light, green light a lot. The one thing, something that you need to keep in mind, and she's been illustrating that, is when your dog is close to you and where you want them to be, that is your choice. What do you want? For me, I have a bubble that goes all the way around me, and my dog just needs to stay in that. Some people like their dog to be on the left. I have multiple dogs, so I have to have a pretty arbitrary bubble because I have multiple dogs. But if you're just walking one, or you might be walking both yours, you might want one to be on the left. You can't really train leash walking skills when you have another dog with you. So I would highly recommend that you work on your other dogs separate from when you're working on Jasper. If possible. It gets a little more convoluted and complicated. But go ahead. Okay. Go ahead, Jan.
She's not very food motivated, and she's kind of just getting over being mad that we got a puppy. So so it'll be challenging. I mean, we'll just have to figure out.
What you can do is you can just stop
Yeah.
and wait her out. And then when she turns to look at you, then her reward is going to get to be to go forward. So that's that in essence is a reward on its own, is just getting to continue on your way. So her reward won't involve necessarily food, or maybe you just haven't found the high value enough. Have you tried like hot dog and things like that?
We should try hot dogs. We haven't gotten that.
Sometimes people say my dog's not food motivated. Well, it could just be you haven't found the thing that is going to motivate her.
Bacon. I think she likes pork. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to work on leash walking skills with her, I would really experiment with trying to find that thing that she's going to go for, because it will really help you out. And then I would just reserve it only for when you're out working on leash walking skills. So the two things that we need to do is we need to reward them when they're close to us, and we need to reward them for being for checking in with us. Mm-hmm. The red light, green light is in essence a bit of a punishment, because we're stopping them from getting what they want, and that's to go forward. It's not enough to just use punishment. Years ago, I had a dog, and I didn't know anything about training, and he was such a puller. I mean, he would pull you down the street. It took me a year to get any progress with him, because all I was doing was the red light, green light. So I only showed him what I didn't want him to do. I didn't show him what I did want him to do. So when he was walking next to me, close to me, I should have been rewarding rapid fire rewards for that. When he was checking in with me, I should have been rewarding that. So consequently, it took me forever to make progress with him. So the yin and the yang is showing them what we don't want them to do, but it's also rewarding what we do want them to do. So the two work in tandem, and it's not enough to do just one or the other. If you're only going to do one or the other, then the one that will work for you the most is rewarding what you want,
Yeah.
as opposed to punishing what you don't want. So we're going to go on. So anyway, just keep in mind, rewarding check-ins, rewarding when they're close to you, when they're in that spot or that area that you want them to be in. Drop those treats down like she was doing, right at your heel as you move. Rapid fire as you're going along. And if you find that you're constantly red light, green lighting, stopping, then that just tells me that you're not rewarding enough for what you do want. If you just find yourself constantly just punishing what you don't want, it just means they're not getting yet what you do want. So we need to make sure we capture those moments of proximity and check-ins to communicate to them what it is we do want. So we'll continue on with this video.
Don't forget to click your dog when you see them walking perfectly. Also, practice stopping and clicking them for staying with you. If they rush ahead, no click.
See, his little chihuahua's checking in with her a lot now because, you know, he knows that he's going to get treated. And those check-ins are golden. If your dog is checking in with you,
Here's
you're
a training
halfway
tip.
there.
Practice indoors first, where there's no distraction. You want to build a strong foundation on the behavior of being next to you is the best place to be.
Exactly.
If you do your homework and practice in your yard and in your house first before you hit the street, your dog will be more likely to be attentive to you. Another technique is don't go for the walk that you usually do.
Okay, I was just going to comment again. Yes, the best way to work on off-leash skills, on-leash skills is actually off-leash in the beginning. Because that way you're motivated, you're rewarding the dog, and you're rewarding the dog for being close to you, and they don't have to deal with being on a leash. They're doing it because they want to be close to you, not because they're tethered to a leash. And when you really build that desire, then it's going to help you so much when you start moving outside to work on it.
Where your dog habitually pulls. Instead, practice walking back and forth in front of your house.
So she was saying, so I interrupted that. If you have certain routes you take in, you know, the dog's going to pull in certain places, particularly in certain places really badly, then she's saying then alter your route. Just do something where you're just like going back and forth, staying away from those hot spots.
Not only do you become very unpredictable in the direction that you're going, which can make your dog much more attentive, but your dog no longer knows which way is forwards. Therefore, they're less likely to want to pull ahead.
That's actually a really good little training technique. I like that, because if they, you know, exactly what she said, they're going to be less likely to pull ahead if they've sort of lost the orientation of what is forward.
The great thing about this technique is you're not forcing your dogs to stay with you.
Exactly.
You're building being next to you as a wonderful place to be, so that even when you drop the leash, your dogs want to stay with you and in those positions that you've reinforced them for staying.
So in other words, we don't have to coerce them in any way. They're doing it because they choose to do it. And that really is the best training techniques, is ones where we give the dogs the choice to make their own decisions. And that's where the learning is. I think that's it. Let's see. Okay, that was it. But yeah, that's a good little video, and I'll send that to you guys.
Thank you.
So yeah. So if nothing else right now, if you just want to work on not taking all that on right now, is just reward when Jasper checks in with you, or your other dog. What's your other dog's name?
Bree.
Bree?
Yeah.
if nothing else right now, just work on when Bree actually just looks at you when you're out walking.
Mm-hmm.
And then also just work on with Bree and Jasper. If they start pulling, just stop
Mm-hmm.
and wait for them to turn towards you, or to just put a little slack in the leash. Mark and reward that and keep going. Or with Bree, you'll just keep going because that'll be her reward, which is a pretty wonderful reward. So we're going to work on stay a little more. I'll do a little demo. I'll just do a quick little demo with Lolly. We're going to work on some distance.
Mm-hmm.
Just a reminder, it's okay to test your dog at the beginning of the session. Where are you right now in this moment in time on this planet? Can you handle 2 steps back, 3 steps back, 4? You could start with 4, and then if they fail, okay, you know that's too hard. So don't test them again. Just start out really easy. Go down from that 4 steps to maybe like 1 or 2 steps. And if they fail that too, again, that's information. So we just want to make it easy enough for them to succeed, because if they don't practice succeeding, you'll never build a foundation. I know I keep repeating that, but I just can't, it just cannot emphasize the importance of that enough, that if you keep making it too hard and they keep failing, you really will not make any progress. You'll frustrate the dog, you'll frustrate yourself. So anyway, so I'm just going to do a little quick demo with Lolly. I'm going to try just like a 1 step back with her. Shamefully, I don't work too much on this with her. With my dogs, what I do a lot of when I'm out walking, and is for me, just for them, sometimes just to wait for me to even just tie my shoes. So I'll just say wait, and then they just stand next to me and wait for that. So I don't work on stay a lot. I should, but it hasn't been as important to me as some of the other behaviors that I've been working on. So it's always good to prioritize what do you think is most important for your own situation to emphasize with your dogs. And for me, the behavior that I focus on more than anything else is recall, and we're going to work on that a little bit more. But a stay could save your dog's life, so I highly encourage you to work on it. So I'm just going to do a little bit of distance with Lolly. She can wake up from her little snooze. Lolly. So I'm going to put her in a sit. She just defaulted to a sit. Stay. Good girl. So I just did 1 step back, and she was successful at that. Now I'm going to toss a treat to set her off, to set her free. Then I'm going to bring her back again. Stay. I'm going to do the same thing again. Bungee back. Mark. Reward. Free. You can use anything for your release word. Free, okay, whatever you like. It's always a good habit to get into, is releasing them from the behavior, especially the stay, because we want the stay to have a beginning and an end. If you're doing multiple repetitions of it, to them, they just think they're in one long stay. And what you're doing is you're just building towards the moment when they break the stay on their own. We want to be the ones to end the stay. So just think in terms of adding a release cue, tossing the treat off to reset them, and then start another stay again. So I'll have you guys just work a little bit here. There he is. I was like, there's my boy.
Is it good? And then,
Good. Part of the problem is you heard Joe saying his name and he was like, wait, what? Am I getting a treat?
so he did something interesting, Tammy. I took 5 steps back. He was in a sitting position, and then he laid down.
Don't worry. Okay, for me,
Yeah.
that I don't care about that. Some people, if you're obviously working, obedience trials, they would need to hold the sit for the whole stay. But we're not doing that. What we want our dogs to do, in essence, or exactly, is to stay in that spot. So if he slid down into a stay, but he's still remaining in that spot, that's a success. That is a
Okay.
success. So then I would bungee back to him, go back to him, mark, and then reward it.
There's our two together.
Oh, adorable.
Now I want to ask you about them sort of rough play with each other. Is rough play okay?
Well, honestly, I'd need to be able to see it for me to
Yeah.
know how rough it was, because we all have a different idea of what rough play is in our minds.
Right.
Yeah.
No blood.
Oh gosh, I hope not. I
They lovingly maul each other. I call it maul time.
well, I ask you this: at any point, is either one of the dogs trying to get away from the other one?
No. Well,
So that is the only
maybe the
thing.
dog. Sometimes the older dog kind of gets bored after a while and kind of just turns away.
Yeah, that's what
That's
I would watch out for, is if your older dog, Bree, is deciding to opt out, you need to make
yeah,
sure that Bree gets to do that.
right.
And
Right.
and if Jasper continues to still
Yeah.
engage with her when she's saying clearly, I'm done,
Yeah.
that could lead to a problem down the line,
Okay.
because she'll probably end up giving him a correction. And it depends on how he'll handle the correction. Um, maybe a little air snap or something.
Well,
If
what would
she's not allowed to be able to end the play when she wants to end the play, I would just make sure that when she clearly is moving away from him, that maybe you try to distract Jasper away,
yeah.
distract Jasper away, redirect him away from going back to her when she's saying, I'm done. That would be my only, not having being able to see it, that would be my advice. Going from what you're describing, that would be how I would.
The positive is I kind of trained them to play tug with a toy.
Oh,
So
that's
we'll have
great.
her mouth, and the puppy will grab it, and they'll play tug, and they'll shake.
That's fantastic.
Or yeah.
Yeah, just watch them. Always watch them and make sure no one's getting over aroused. But it sounds like they're both consenting to the play. At any point, that just to say again, if either one of them decides they don't want to play anymore, and the
Yeah.
other one's not respecting that, then that's when I would intervene, and I would do something about that by redirecting
Yeah,
the dog
exactly.
that doesn't want to end the play. It
When it gets
sounds like kind of how you're describing, and that they're just two dogs that are getting really comfortable with each other. And again, I can't say anything for sure, not having witnessed the
right.
play myself. But sometimes when dogs get really comfortable with each other and they live in the same household, they tend to up the roughness of the play. And that is because they get really good at reading each other. Therefore, they can
Yeah.
take it to a higher level. The only thing that I would want to recommend is that Jasper continue to do some socials, because here's the problem. When a puppy gets used to playing with the dog in the household, and they get to know each other really well, and so they start playing rougher, Jasper will lose skills, or he won't gain skills that he needs to do to play with stranger puppies, because he will go from A to Z and play as rough as he plays with Bree, and then you're
Right.
going to run into problems. And we've
Right.
seen that many times when dogs live together and the puppy only gets to play with the dog that he knows
Right.
really well,
Right.
that tolerates him, tolerates the rough play, is engaging in rough play too. Then you take that puppy and you put him around other puppies, then they have a tendency to amp up the play and not read the other puppy and respect as
That's a good
much.
point. Yeah, that's
So
good.
I highly recommend that you guys continue to bring Jasper to socials, drop
He's
off socials, so that he's still getting practice with reading other dogs that he's just met,
Yeah.
and gauging his play to fit the situation, and not just playing with the dog that he lives with.
Gotcha.
Because I mean, that comes from, trust me on that. That is something that has been observed and
Yeah.
through
I've seen it at
time.
a dog park. Well, there'd be a dog that will
Yeah,
play, and then he plays a little too rough, and then the other dog attacks him.
He needs, yeah, he needs to definitely need supervised play, I think, in a puppy social at this point. You know, either one of ours or someone else's. Um, I think Doggy Business is doing socials, Wonder Puppy, um, Dog Star Pup, I think it's called, or Star Pup.
Yeah, we know.
Or Brooklyn Yard Vet, and then of course our socials that we're still doing, Brittany and Angela. So I highly recommend that Jasper is not only getting to play with Bree, because you're going to wind up with
Okay.
possibly a situation that he's not going to be able to read other dogs
So,
as well
okay.
when it comes
So
to
on.
as he
Moving.
gets older.
What should we practice on this week? The sit and stay?
Okay. Right now I'd like to see one more stay with Jasper. What time we still got a little time. Can I get one more stay with these guys? I just want to make sure I'm coaching your technique before I leave you on this one, because we still got a couple more things to cover. So, and one thing, Jan, I wanted to say, I'm noticing that you're saying stay and then you're continuing to hold your hand out.
Oh, okay.
Pull your hand back, because
Oh.
as you progress with this, you're going to want to turn away eventually and your hand is not going to be there to will him in place. So we need to get rid of that hand quite quickly. So put him in the stay, put your hand out, then draw your hand back. Then pull your hand back.
Yes.
Then I'd go back to him. Yes, perfect. Now toss him a treat, release him.
Here you go.
And yeah, and I would work on maybe adding a release cue like free or okay, but that was great. Thumbs up on that. So we're going to move on. Just again, make it easy enough for them to be successful so that you can get at least 5 reps of success before you make it harder. So work on trying to get 5 in a row before you actually make you add steps or you add duration. Okay.
I got them to stay about 6 or 7 times in a row.
Yeah, and I the same criteria.
And the thing was, when I pushed it back, when I did 6 or 7 steps back, that's when he laid down.
And I wouldn't worry about that. You know, he's just settled. You know, if anything, Joe, I would say yay, because I think that means that he's not aroused, he's relaxing, and when he relaxes into that lay down, then you know that he's not about to jump up and break the stay. And just make sure that you end the stay before he ends the stay. That's a very important part of the stay.
Doing it again.
Yes.
Beautiful. And now just release him out of it so he knows that the stay is over. We want them to know that the stay has a beginning and an end.
Right.
Okay, looking good, looking good. So we're going to move on.
Yeah.
Today we're actually going to go ahead and add verbal to the sit and the down. Let's see what else we got to cover here. Actually, I'm going to change that order up a little bit. Let's work on some recall. All right, I'm going to quickly run over the 5 rules of recall again. Don't call your dog for something he doesn't like a bath, or call him out of play. Like if he's playing with Bree and you call him, he's probably not going to come to you. So what you've done is you've caused him to start tuning out that cue. So never call your dog for something he doesn't like, because if you call him out of play, you've essentially punished him. But you know what? And more importantly, he's probably not going to come. So never go and get your dog if you need to do something with him that he's not going to like. Number 2, don't call your dog unless you're reasonably sure he's going to come. So if he's got his nose stuffed in a bush smelling something, chances are he's not going to come. Go and get him. Rule number 3, if you screw up rule number 2, go and get him. Save the recall cue. Number 4, don't repeat the cue, because he's going to start tuning you out like he tunes out so many things that we do. And number 5, make sure you're using the highest the highest value treat that you have for your recall. So again, how we're going to practice recall is I want you to say your dog's name. When they're distracted, say your dog's name. When Jasper turns towards you, then you're going to go ahead and call him you're going to give him the recall cue and be really excited. You're going to have to repeat, you're going to have to compete with the environment. So when you start doing this outside and working on it outside, I highly recommend you buying a long line so you can start, like you can get them on Amazon and you can start working on the recall in the park.
Right.
If you know, so say his name. Right now he's distracted. Get Joe to distract him a little bit.
And is the recall phrase come? That just seems weak.
If that's what you want to use, it's all your choice. So, but if you come up with it, whatever you decide on, stick with it. It needs to be consistent.
What other words besides come?
Some people use, oh, you can get creative. Once knew a dog that the dog's name was Pasta. And so they'd go pasta and the recall cue was sauce. So, I mean, you can do anything you want. I once had a dog that they used caw, the sound of a crow. So It can be whatever you want, but I would get something now and stick with it. Don't be changing it up.
His name's Jasper. The recall could be
or come here. I mean, is that
that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. You want to say come here. That's great. That works fine. So right now, let's just do a little practice. I want Joe to distract him just a little bit, not too much. Then I want you to say his name, and when he looks at you, Jan, that's when you're going to add the recall cue. And you need to be exciting.
Come here. Good boy.
He's such a chill puppy. It's so funny. Of course, I'm sure he's got his times when he's not as chill. Yeah. Yeah. So again, try it again. He's distracted. Do it. Call his name, Jan.
Jasper.
Hey.
Come here. Oh, good boy. Oh, you're so good.
Nice. So yes. So let's try it one more time.
Okay. Jasper, come here.
Yeah, very good. He's doing really well. So the elements here are waiting for orientation back towards you. That's when you're going to give him the cue. And the reason we wait for that is because then we'll know we're reasonably sure they're going to come when you put the cue in there. And then be exciting. You need to be a cheerleader, basically, when you call your dog. So that's looking good.
Come here.
Okay.
Nice. Very good. I like the excitement in your voice, Jan. Very good. So you guys got that down. So I want you to be practicing that. Right now, just make sure that you're not letting him off leash anywhere other than, say, your backyard or your living room, because he is, it's just too dangerous. But if you get a long line of, 15 feet, you can take him to the park and start working on it there and keeping him safe. All right, you guys, we're going to move on.
And it's not, I'm sorry, it's not till October 1st or 2nd that he has his last parvo shot.
Okay. So yeah, so I just keep working on in your safe areas, and just make sure you get that orientation towards you before you add the cue. So then you're going to be pretty sure he's going to come. If you do call him and he doesn't come, don't just keep repeating it, because then I guarantee you that recall cue is just going to start fading to black. It's just not going to work for you. What a good Bree. Look at you. You love your little friend. Now that you don't hate your friend. Yeah.
The one thing you could use help with how to not bark at other dogs walking by when she's inside our fenced front yard.
Say that one more time.
Barking. Sometimes it's weird. She'll see a white dog and she'll freak out and rush the fence. But most other dogs, she'll just sit and watch.
Yes, I've experienced that too. My dogs have a really over-the-top reaction to golden retrievers. But we used to have a golden retriever that lived in the building, and there had been a lot of frustration build up, passing on leash and seeing each other.
Right.
I can't begin to know where Bree's reaction has come
Prejudice.
from about that white dog. We'll never know. But
Yeah.
what something you could start doing is if you're out there with her and you see the white dog, before she reacts, feed Bree. But then you say she's not super food motivated. But with Bree, I would make it your project to find something that Bree really likes.
Okay.
But I told you she's not food motivated, and as soon as I told you that, she came up to me and nudged me for food. So
okay. Maybe you're on the right track. Again, a lot of times people will say that, and I'm not saying they're liars. I'm just saying there are dogs that are really hard to motivate by food. Trust me, I know that that's true. But there's also the dogs that they haven't been introduced just the right motivator. So before you give up on that, I would I'd cut to the chase. I'd go right for some little pieces of hot dog and start trying that. Some little pieces of chicken just torn off in little strips. So don't give up on her yet with
All
that.
right.
So we are going to, let's see what time we're looking at here. Oh, we still got a little time. So.
All right. So we'll just practice this day.
Yes, and don't forget to look at your homework, and it'll remind you of what you need to be working on. The homework doesn't always match up exactly, but pretty much so.
Right.
Now we're going to work on some Leave It to take it on out here. One thing I just wanted to remind you guys of too is right now it's harder to socialize your dog. I realize that, but when you're out and about and you see other dogs. It's a good idea when you notice that your dog is noticing the other dog, just to give them a treat, because we're trying to build calm feelings of, around other dogs that they aren't allowed to go greet, because your dog is not going to be allowed to greet all dogs its whole life. And something that happens is dogs that aren't even uncomfortable with other dogs can start developing frustration, which can down the line lead to some aggressive behaviors if they get frustrated because they want to go play with the dog, but they don't get to. So it can start to build frustration even to the most dog-friendly dogs. And especially during COVID too, we don't get to go up to people as much as we were now because of COVID. So I would recommend that when you're out with Jasper and you notice him noticing another dog, I just give him some treats while he's in a calm state. I don't know if he's a dog that gets all excited and tries to pull to greet other dogs. I'm not sure. Does he really want to go greet other dogs?
I haven't taken him out at all because of his shots.
Oh, he hasn't really gone on walks yet. Okay. When you begin, after you get the shots, then I would recommend doing that when you're out walking. But again, especially because of this, not taking him out because of shots, it makes it even more important that you're taking him to puppy socials during this critical period. He's in this critical period and he really needs exposure to other stimulus, other dogs, other people. And these are things that he'll get at a puppy social. Because if he's just going to be living in a bubble, it's going to make it harder for him to tolerate things when he does start being able to join the party out there. Let's just do a little quick work on some Leave It. So just a reminder, first step is closed hand. When they disengage, we mark and reward from the other hand. The next step is an open hand. We reward them for not going for it at all. And then we're starting to get down onto the floor. And today we're not going to take it that next step. I just want to see where you guys are at. So I just want to do a little coaching with the Leave It. So I see where you guys and what page you're on right now. So let's get Jasper and do some Leave It with him.
Just did.
doing it. You can put some in. He got really rewarded that time.
I
He
gave him
deserves it. He deserves it. They both deserve it. And also, I'm sure with Bree noticing that Jasper's getting these rewards, there's some social facilitation going on where she wants to be involved in it. So that could be increasing her motivation for treats.
I think it
Which is
is.
a good thing, which is a great thing. Oh, look at her. He says, well, what's he getting? I want some of that. So let's try to do 3 or 4 repetitions and leave it before we call it a day here. And also just, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Joe.
Good boy.
Excellent. Nice. So
Reset.
So, and with Leave It, you actually don't need to reset him. That one isn't, but you know, I love that you're developing that habit though. I think it's a wonderful habit to be in.
Good
Can
boy.
he see that? Does he see the treat in your hand?
No.
I'd get up a little closer to him. And you do have a treat in your Leave It hand, right? I just can't see. Is there a treat?
Hands that you're holding out to him.
No,
right now.
no treat.
She said.
Oh no, so you need to have a treat because that's what he's leaving. So be sure you have a treat in your hand.
Boy.
Excellent. And then treat from your left hand. So
Yeah.
your right hand has a treat in it. Because what we're going for here, Joe, is we're getting them to leave the treat in your right hand that looks like you're using. And when he leaves that, then we're going to mark and reward from your other hand. So let's try that again. So don't forget to put that treat in your hand. Because otherwise he's not really leaving anything.
Leave it. Leave it. Good boy.
Yeah, perfect. So let's try that again and try lowering your hand a little bit.
So he really sees it.
Sit. Sit. Leave it. Leave it. Good
Beautiful. And that looked great, Joe. The only thing that I would critique on that, other than that one thing, otherwise it looks perfect. And that would be not to repeat the Leave It. And again, that's just so that they don't start tuning it out, and so that he doesn't start thinking that the cue is leave it, leave it. You just want him to think the cue is just leave it. I'd get a little closer to him. I think he might also just be he might be giving you a stay, which is great. I love it. Beautiful. And I would go ahead and immediately mark that when he leaves it, and then you can start working on duration. Aw, yeah, I want it. Let's try one more. Let's put it, and let's see if we can lower that hand a little bit more. Oh, it's great. You got the canine, looks like the canine naturals there. Fantastic.
Those are good
Took
treats.
my advice. I love it.
Leave it. Good boy.
Beautiful. That is fantastic. So here's what I'd like you to do. Continue to work on that. Build a strong foundation at where you're at, where he just was at right now. Then I want you to start slowly lowering your hand in incrementals down to the floor, so that your hand is
on the floor.
So that you have a treat in your hand, but your hand is laying on the floor.
Okay.
So that's what I'd like for you to work on this week.
Okay.
Because when we put treats on the floor, they belong to the dog, because dogs live on the floor. So once we make that transition down to the floor, you're going to have to up the ante and working hard on this, because usually it's going to be a lot harder for them. But we're still keeping the treat in our hand as opposed to the naked treat on the floor. So that's what I'd like you guys to work on this week for next week. Always start out warming up your dog. No, not necessarily. If you're finding they're having a hard time concentrating, I would go ahead and start off the session with the closed hand, just to like get him warmed up. And then go to the open hand, and then start lowering your hand to the floor. But you guys, it's looking great. Next week is our last week. You guys are doing the work. fantastic. Just Joe, just don't forget to make sure that you do have a treat in your leave-in hand. So
Okay.
that otherwise he's not really leaving anything. Try to think of it like that. So
Yeah.
we want them to leave the thing. And then they get an even better reward from our other hand. Another reminder is to make the treat in your leave-in hand less value than the
Oh,
treat they're going to be rewarded with.
okay, that's smart.
And that
Yeah.
helps them, because eventually when we start bringing it out into the real world, we want them to realize when they leave that dead bird or that cat poop that they're going to get something super fantastic from us, and they're going to
Good.
turn to us
Good.
and for that. Let me see if I left anything out. Looking good.
I'm going to show you them doing that game Joe's talking about right now.
Oh, I'd love it. So this is them. Okay, first of all, I'm going to point out, let me put this on speaker view. I can get a better look at it. There we go. So I'm going to point out some things.
Yeah.
Bree is doing something what we call self-handicapping. She's laying down to help offset her size difference.
That's really
And
good.
that is fantastic. Bree is
Yeah.
a solid dog.
Yeah.
I can see right now it's all consensual. This
Yeah.
looks great. Bree's not trying to get away. I do see that Jasper's definitely doing a lot of mouthing to her face, but
Yeah.
he must be controlling it to some degree because she's not correcting him. She
And
still
she
seems
does,
to be really enjoying herself. Um,
and she tells him when it's time to stop, you
well,
know,
that's
or
good. And he needs that,
yeah.
because what would be a mistake would be if she didn't tell him, and then when he tries that on another dog, they might tell him, but they might tell him a lot harder than she would have told him.
Right, right.
So that looked great. And you know what I love? Jasper's walked away. He's giving her a break. He's coming back in now. So can you push the camera down just a tad? I want to see them on the body language on all of them again. She's got a nice relaxed face. Oh, that's adorable.
One of our neighbors has I don't know, a pit mix dog, and they got a probably pit Great Dane mixed puppy, and the dog's lower neck got stretched because the puppy pulled on it so much, and the
Yeah,
older
they
dog.
do love to pull on the necks a lot. And that's something that they will, if they do it to the wrong dog, they could definitely get snarked at.
Yeah.
Say at a dog park, and they pull that on the wrong dog. And that's the reason I don't like dog parks so much, because we don't know these dogs at dog parks. And if
Yeah.
Jasper was to do something that the other dog didn't like, this dog might do an overcorrection and scare Jasper and traumatize him. And we want to make sure that doesn't happen, because dogs can hold on to trauma for a long time. But this is looking great. This is looking great. So what I'm seeing here, you guys, I'm not at all worried about. She's not trying to move away from him. And you know what I like too, is Jasper's actually giving her a break. He's not constantly. And then he walks away. Now he's going to play with you, because now you're
I mean, than her.
really like,
But
really.
she decides when to start and when to stop, which I admire. And we
I
also.
like that. So now they're going to move around a little more. Let me take a look at this. Still looks good. Still looks good. And I do love that there's some stops and starts.
Yeah.
When you need to get worried is when there's no breaks. No
Yeah.
breaks can lead to trouble. And Jasper's rolling over on his back.
Mm-hmm.
Funny, he's doing a little handicapping, but he's so tiny it's not even necessary. Well, that, so far from what I'm observing, it looks really good.
Good.
Something you might want to keep an eye on right here is when she's over the top of him, and just make sure he doesn't get too overwhelmed by that. Sometimes when dogs are on top of other dogs, you can see some over arousal happen from the dog that's on top. So I just keep an eye on that. If she continues to be on top of him for an extended amount of time, you might want to interrupt the play.
Yeah.
Just to be sure that Jasper's not getting a little overwhelmed with having a dog on top of him.
Yeah.
And also, I don't think this is going to happen watching Bree, but sometimes even the most chill dogs can get a little over aroused when they have a dog pinned. So just something to think about. But it's all looking good, you guys. So I'm going to end on that beautiful note.
Thank you so
You guys be safe, and I'll see you next
too.
week, okay?
Best
Take
wishes.
care. You too. Bye, guys.
Bye.